At 30 below zero, your breath freezes before it hits the air. Frost builds inside your nose. Exposed skin can go numb in under 5 minutes. In the winter of 1836, a brigade of 60 fur trappers camped along the Yellowstone River was about to spend 5 straight months in exactly that kind of cold, on purpose. No cabins. No modern stoves. No insulation from a hardware store. Just a hole in the ground. What they built underground kept them alive through winters that killed weaker men in days, using a trick engineers would not fully explain for another century and a half. Nobody back east cared much about the men trapping beaver in the Rockies. Between 1822 and 1840, roughly 3,000 of them scattered across the mountains, the Sierra Nevada, and the northern plains chasing pelts for a fashion craze sweeping Europe and America. The work itself was brutal. You wade waist deep into freezing streams to set traps. You carry a rifle, a knife, and dried meat on your back. Every year, once the water froze solid, you faced one decision that decided whether you lived. Where do you spend the winter? The high Rockies in January do not forgive mistakes. Temperatures regularly drop to 20, 30, even 40 below. Wind rips through mountain passes fast enough to turn bare skin to frostbite in minutes. Snow piles up in feet, not inches. Night stretches 14 hours. Winter can run from October to May, 7 straight months of hunting whatever you can find and keeping yourself from freezing in your sleep. A canvas tent stood no chance against that. Wind found every seam and gap. Heat bled out as fast as a fire could replace it, and the frozen ground beneath you pulled warmth from your body all night. Early trappers learned this the hard way, waking up half submerged after laying blankets onto thawing mud. That kind of lesson only needs to happen once. The fix was not building up. It was digging down. The real experts in this were never the trappers. They were the native nations who had been building into the earth for thousands of years. Hidatsa communities along the Missouri River raised massive earth lodges in about 10 days, using thick timber frames, layered brush, and packed sod thick enough to hold heat through a whole winter, with a fire pit venting through a smoke hole above. Farther west, plateau peoples dug pit houses called kekulis, sinking a chamber into the ground and burying it under packed earth reached through a hole in the roof. Under a blanket of winter snow, a single small fire heated the entire space, even at 40 below. Trappers who wintered alongside these communities borrowed the idea and stripped it down to something 1 or 2 men could build fast with an axe and a shovel. Here is how you would have built one. First, pick your ground. You want a slope facing the rising sun, hills or rock at your back to block wind, timber nearby for logs, and water close enough to reach without a long hike. Then start digging. A pit 3 to 5 feet deep, footprint small, maybe 8 by 10 feet, because every extra foot of space is heat you must fill later. Bigger is not better. Height holds warmth. Spacious wastes it. The dirt walls become your main insulation, sometimes lined with bark or hide to stop loose soil falling onto your bedding. Across the top go logs, heavier ones as ridge beams, smaller poles laid perpendicular to form a tight lattice. Over that goes a woven layer of bark and brush, packed close enough to hold the next layer, the part that actually makes the shelter work. Layer after layer of packed earth and sod, sometimes frozen turf, built up until the roof is a foot thick or more. The thicker that roof, the better it performs, holding your interior air 15 to 20 degrees warmer than outside with no fire lit at all. Then there is the entrance, where the real engineering hides. Instead of a door cut into a wall, you dig a low tunnel angled away from the wind. Cold air is heavier than warm air, so it sinks and pools in that tunnel instead of climbing into your sleeping space. Warm air from your body and any small fire rises and stays trapped above you. You have built a cold trap without knowing the physics, and it works. Here is the part that should genuinely surprise you. A few feet under the surface, ground temperature barely moves all year. At around 10 feet down, soil across most of the country holds steady near 50 to 55 degrees, whether the air above is 30 below or 95 out. Roughly half the solar energy hitting open ground gets absorbed below the surface, and it changes so slowly that January soil still carries summer's warmth. Put yourself 3 to 5 feet down and you are sitting inside that thermal buffer. The earth is not just blocking wind. It is actively heating you. Your own body adds to it. A resting human puts out roughly as much heat as a 100-watt bulb. Put 2 or 3 people inside a tight, well-insulated dugout and interior temperature can climb 40, 50, even 60 degrees above outside air with zero fire burning. When a fire was lit, it stayed small, ringed with stone, Smoke drawn out through a rock chimney, because the shelter no longer fought wind or thin canvas. The ground did the heavy lifting. This is not folklore. One frontier family that settled in Utah in 1860 lived 8 people deep in a single dugout for 2 straight years, with interior temperatures reportedly holding between 60 and 70 degrees, built with nothing but hand tools and packed dirt. Modern geothermal heat pumps chase the same principle today, drilling hundreds of feet down and costing tens of thousands of dollars to tap the Earth's constant warmth. 2 centuries ago, a shovel in a few days did a rougher version of the same job for free. If you ever need emergency winter shelter, this is the blueprint worth remembering. Dig below the frost line. Keep the footprint small and tight. Stack your roof thick, layering brush and packed earth rather than one thin layer. Angle your entrance low, away from the wind, so cold air sinks instead of following you inside. Face your opening toward the morning sun if terrain allows it. And trust your own body heat more than you think you should, because inside a properly built dugout, it does far more work than expected. The mountain men never explained thermal mass or convective heat loss. They never needed the vocabulary. They only needed to know digging down stopped the cold from following them, because people who had lived in these mountains for thousands of years had already proven it worked. That knowledge nearly vanished with the fur trade, but it is exactly the kind of forgotten survival skill this channel exists to dig back up. Subscribe to Prepper's Survival Blueprint for more real history and survival knowledge you won't find elsewhere.